Alright, you ready to talk about some shit?
Yes! Yes!
Hello,
Yo,
good
yo,
mythical
yo, yo,
morning.
yo, yo,
Hello,
yo, yo,
welcome
yo,
to
yo,
the
yo.
show. Hello, welcome to not good mythical morning. Welcome to Talking Shit. Hi.
You've just been assaulted.
Bye.
Yos.
Oh, I've been assaulted.
Everyone.
I see, I felt like...
Not
it
yo-yos though, I'm just saying yo.
Yeah, because an attack... I feel like an attack from an actual yo-yo would probably hurt more than, like, the word yo.
It depends how skilled the yo-yoer is. I'm not
Good
actually
point.
that skilled of a yo-yoer.
I could never really get it to work, no.
Yeah, but some people, deadly weapon.
That is true. Yeah, I tell you what I always
More
used to be good
lethal
at.
than a 50 cal sniper rifle.
I tell you what I used to be good at was the you know the thing with the ball on the string and you go what and then you catch it in the cup.
Oh, yeah, that child's game.
I was pretty fucking sick at that.
Yeah, yo-yoing is a bit higher level than that.
Are you trying to Are you trying to be snooty about like yo-yos over ball?
Let's
cup
just
game?
say I have a nose and I'm currently looking down on it.
Wow.
Down it.
Yeah, you're not
I'm
looking
looking
down
down
on your
you,
own nose.
down my nose.
How big is your nose? Just looking down on that motherfucker. I've
measure it.
always wondered
I must measure my nose.
if
Put
any
that
of the
on to-do
founding
list.
if any of the founding fathers were Jewish, do you feel like Mount Rushmore, like would they have been more annoyed at how much detail they would have had to put in the nose?
Or maybe people would be joyful because you could make it into a pretty sick water slide.
Yo!
Yeah. Imagine going off Mr. Jewish.
Mr. Jewish's
President
nose.
Jew.
What's a... That's how he would have been known.
President Jew's nose into some water. I'd be stoked, to say
That
the
would be
least.
pretty cool. There was this kid that went to my oh god. There was this kid that went to my secondary school called I'm just gonna out him, he was called Schiller. If for some reason he finds this at some point, he's gonna love this. But everybody used to joke around that his face was like a perfect slide. It looked his face from the side. It was like dipped in, but it was like a big forehead, but it was dipped in, and the nose was like woo.
So it was very smooth up top, and then
So like if he had like nits, but he managed to like shake them forwards, they'd have the ride of their lives on the way down.
yeah, I'm guessing no one actually, like a human being, tried to ride down it.
Well, at one point he
Maybe
found out that I was into wrestling, and he tried to he was like yo, and like picked me up in like fireman's carry position,
Oh,
and was
you
like,
sat
hey.
on his face.
Well, no, I kind of flipped around and like rolled down his back and rolled him forwards and shit, and he was very surprised, and I was like, yeah, bro.
Yeah, watch out next time, bucko.
Next time you pick me up, you better watch out. I might flip off you.
Next time I'll spin you on your belly button like a basketball.
There's got to be someone that can do that, like a world's strongest man and like a midget.
I mean, yeah.
Use it like a
Midget.
fidget spinner.
Some
Midget
people
spinner.
Get annoyed.
You could
Some
call
people
it a
get
midget
annoyed at
spinner.
the word of midget, but
Yeah, there was I don't know whether I've sent this to you. There's this John Mulaney bit where like he talks about he was writing for an award show once, and somebody from the network came down and said, "You can't put the word midget on TV," and he was like, "Well, I'd like to," and they were like, "No, midget is as bad as the N word," and he's all like,
I saw that. Yeah.
"Yeah," and he's
Yeah,
all
I
like,
remember.
"If you're judging the badness of two words and you won't even say one of them, that's the worst word."
That is good. I do like that. Yeah.
John Mulaney's great. I've been trying to this week, or was it last week? I don't know. At some point, me, Joe, and Brad, who's been on the show before, we were having not a disagreement, but like a discussion about like stand up, because I really like stand up. I write stand up, not good stand up, but I try. And I've got like this big appreciation for it. But you guys kind of have a different view.
I don't think I've really. It's just that I haven't really delved into it that deep, and probably haven't found something that clicks with me.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to send you a bunch of stuff.
And
like I got you to watch Paper
It's like-
Tiger.
I exhale out of my nose sometimes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's
But-
it's difficult when
But
you
like
watch
also, I kind of prefer like sketch.
Yeah, I
type
get that.
Comedy. I like
The
that.
thing
more.
with stand-up is that like until you've actually like seen it live, you don't kind of. I hate to be like snooty and be like, oh, you have to see it live, but like seeing it live is like a big because those moments where like you're exhaling and kind of chuckling to yourself, they suddenly become a million times funnier when you're actually in the room and like maybe that's.
Yeah, but is that just peer pressure from other people laughing?
But I don't. Maybe like
Or
maybe
like
on
you've
some.
bought? I said this like you've bought a ticket, so you feel obligated to laugh. Because
Like
I feel like
maybe
that
on
is quite
some
British
level.
as well. Like,
Well, yeah, maybe on some level, but also if you don't like it, there's kind of a general consensus. Like if you're not a fan of the joke,
yeah.
and like that's where heckling comes from and all this shit. I don't know. I just
Yeah,
feel like
true.
it's really clever. I'd suggest maybe next watching Bo Burnham's Make Happy, because he does make a joke about how he's like, and if you watched it at home alone, you probably exhaled a bunch of times and, had a little bit of a smile on your face.
I think I did try that. I did try that. I think, but I think
Too American for
I
you.
probably just got distracted by something, to be honest.
That's one of my favourite of all time, mainly because I watched it at like a really weird point in my life where I was all depressy spaghetti. And like, Bo Burnham is just a cool dude and he's really smart. And like, the show is called Make Happy, and it's like, it's weird because it was the first comedy show I watched where I went, oh, this guy's trying to say something underneath you know what I mean? Like, all of the jokes kind of weave into this underlying story about like making yourself happy and all this other bollocks. And it's really subtle, but like it works. I don't know. It's hard to explain without seeing it, but that's a really special one to me. I went back and I watched it the other night, and I just remembered like the first time I watching it, like being like really emotional at the end. I'm like, holy shit, that made me feel something. That's weird.
No.
Oh no, a man feeling? No.
What?
Stuff it down. Do some man shit. Do some man shit.
Impossible.
But we're not here to talk about this bullshit, are we?
We are currently, but
that's not why we're here, maybe. Because people clicked on this video thing to hear us talk about this film.
the title says something else. We are false advertising.
Well, I've probably made the title something stupid and funny.
Oh.
But yeah, we're here to talk about Drive.
Meow.
Meow.
Ooh, screw. Sounds of a steering wheel going in your hands.
Does that make a sound? Kind of like
That
a
was the
leathery,
There is actually a lot of
yeah.
leather scrunching of his gloves.
Well, yeah, because he wears driving
So
gloves. He
special
tries to make driving gloves cool.
And he squeezes them, and you can hear the squeeze of the leather, like.
The sound. I just want to get this off the bat right away. The sound design of this film. Oh my god. I mean, there was a certain point where the sounds of the cars were almost too good, and we had to turn down the audio because they were so loud.
When like the first,
It's when he's on the
first
racetrack.
Yeah, that was so loud.
But
it was kind of like, yo, oh my god, whoa.
The sound design is so good. Like the action. I don't want to jump into spoilers straight away, but the action is just it's hard hitting. So like just a quick backstory. I've wanted to watch this film for a long time. I've watched like reviews on it saying it's amazing by people I trust. I've like people I know from like school and shit talking about films, whatever, been like, you haven't seen it, this is amazing and blah blah. I'm like, I know it sounds great, but it's nowhere. And yes, I should maybe just buy it and watch it, but I never do that with films because I'm lazy and there. And then it finally came onto Prime, and two people who shall remain nameless, just kidding, it's Chris and Brad, they let us down when we were supposed to be recording this week about Lord of the Rings. That's coming next week. So we had to quickly change plans, and I saw that Drive was on Prime, and I was like, let's go. You didn't know anything about it, did you?
No, I know that a certain Ryan Gosling was in it.
A certain sexy
That's
Ryan
about it.
Gosling.
That's about it.
Yeah, so the guy who directed it, I always forget his name because he's really weird. Let me just get his name up because I'm really professional. Nicholas Winding Refn is a really cool director kind of guy. I know he did like before Drive, which came out in like 2011. He did like a few kind of straight to DVD / smaller budget films that I forget what they're called, but some people like them. I have not seen them yet. But I've seen his other work. I've seen The Neon Demon, which I think was his last film. He hasn't done one since, at least to my knowledge. 2016. Neon Demon is crazy fucking good. And he also did Only God Forgives, which I haven't seen, but I've watched a million analysis videos on and kind of gone like, I don't want to watch this, but it's clever, I get it, but I don't want to watch. It doesn't look like my cup of tea. Despite I like films like Enemy and stuff like that. But Enemy, I enjoyed and kind of understood the cleverness and liked it. Only God Forgives, it's like, yeah, it's clever, but I also don't care. But yeah, the first film because that has Ryan Gosling in as well, Only God Forgives. But the first film he did with him is this, Drive. And this is Refn's kind of like least weird film, I'd say. It's the most straightforward, but also there is some really artistic, cool things about it that I appreciate.
I disagree.
I know you do. This is why I thought it actually might be interesting to talk about. Look,
Fuck you.
I'm on your side as well, though. Like, I also kind of get it. Like, we'll get into it, but there's this main thing of like, this is right. We'll get into it later when we go into spoilers. But anyway, so what did you think it was going to be about? Because there's a really interesting thing about how audiences originally responded to this film.
Well, what did I think it was going to be about before?
Like when I was like, yo, it's Drive, it's got Ryan Gosling in it.
It's Drive and it's got Ryan Gosling in.
I thought maybe you watched a trailer or something.
No.
Oh, wow, okay.
I thought it was going to involve Ryan Gosling driving a car.
Well, you were correct. So when
100%.
So when this film was shown around at like Cannes Film Festival and all this bollocks, like it got like a bunch of Best Director and all this shit. Like everyone was really loving it. And then the trailers came out for it, and they kind of made it look like an action kind of cool movie. Like Ryan Gosling's a cool guy kissing girls and driving cars and blah blah blah. And everybody was like, yo, it's going to be action heavy and all this stuff.
Yo, what is happening to the expectations right now?
Yeah, they're getting set up for disappointment, because if they actually advertise the film as it is, it's kind of like a throwback to old like Hollywood and kind of like a romantic kind of thriller almost. And yeah, it's like this really kind of slow building of tension, and like it's not really Hollywoodizing the action, and it's more kind of making it more like realistic and brutal and kind of mean something, which I appreciate. But general audiences did not. They were like, there's only like 2 car chases and they're kind of meh, and everybody was like, the guy from The Notebook stomping somebody's head to pieces. I don't know. I don't like this.
I don't like that.
Everybody was like really upset, and it's now kind of eventually people have realized what it is, and it's kind of appreciated as like this kind of like throwback romantic kind of thriller that's really kind of interesting, and there's some deep stuff in there that Joe doesn't like that I'm bringing up.
I don't know these things that you've seen. Like, I don't know these things yet.
But like I watched a couple.
Like there's nothing weird about it. Like you can easily just watch it
this is
and
the thing,
understand what it's going.
Yeah,
like
but
that
also
these
like,
things are happening in order, in sequence, and that's all you need to know.
But I think you're gonna get annoyed when I tell you the stuff that's a bit like deeper that a lot of people have gone in depth about.
Gonna take it.
Yeah, well, you're probably gonna get annoyed. And to be honest, I kind of agree with you that it's a bit annoying. I like the stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, part of me was thinking about that, but the other part was just going, because this is the first time I've seen it. Obviously, if I saw it a second time, I'd probably like be trying to look out for these things, but obviously we had to quickly do this, so blah blah blah. So I watched a bunch of videos like Chris Stuckman. I've forgotten all the other channels, but Stuckman does a good one. Stucco. And yeah, so I guess before we get into all this other shit, let's quick non-spoilery thoughts and reviews. It's good. I think it's very good. I don't think it's like amazing, flawless kind of like masterpiece. I think there's some pacing issues, and I also think there's the story. It makes sense, but it also kind of leaves a bit to be desired. But I genuinely think it's better than half the shit out there that is like just pumped out every year. Like it's definitely above Hollywood standard by quite a while, but I don't think it's like a masterpiece or like, I think it's worth discussing, but I don't think it's like a, like a Shawshank or fucking like a, what else does everybody love? Like Pulp Fiction and shit like that. You know what I mean?
I think it could be passed off as like a pretty average, like, oh yeah, watch it and move on. But I think like there is some above the cut than usual, like the music and like the
oh my god, yeah,
the videography, filmography.
Cinematography.
If you want to use that, word.
The thing that you mean.
Well, to a film aficionado like me.
Maybe you know, maybe I'm getting it wrong.
That was just off the cuff.
No, the cinematography is amazing. There's so many times where like, there's one shot in particular where you like just said to me like, that looks fucking sick, and I'm like, yeah, it's just like, that's what kind of annoys me in films a lot of the time, is that people kind of like just shoot like, you know, just shoot a conversation over the shoulder, over the other shoulder, and then there's a main shot. And, like, you just kind of, here's establishing shot of place, in we go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people don't take the time to be like a lot of shots in this look like a fucking painting, you know what I mean? Like, they look so good. And, like, it's just effort that I appreciate. And it was not in vain. It was cool.
Perhaps one of the shots you could have as a wallpaper background.
It's a bit of an eerie wallpaper background, but you could, if you're that kind of guy or gal.
Yeah, the music. Had us bopping. We were.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, there's so many. Me and Joe both had our webcams on while we were watching this, and just every now and then you'd look over, and the two of us are just kind of, yeah, like nodding eyes, like, yeah.
It's like a electronic like, I don't know how to.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. Like electronic.
Cyberpunk.
It is. It does give off cyberpunk vibes. I mean, it's, you know, like what,
like
9 years beforehand, but yeah.
80s synths, but I don't know. Some of the
one of the. Let me just quickly, because of course, like all day I've just been kind of listening to the music since we watched it. Electric Light Orchestra, that's what they're called, isn't it? You know the guys who do like Mr. Blue Sky and Living Thing. You know Mr. Blue Sky.
Of course I do.
You've seen the Magic Roundabout. Yeah, that's you know the main oh no, it's Electric Youth.
Bored.
I thought it was Electric Light Orchestra. I'm getting confused. You know the main song of the film, A Real Hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's by Electric Youth. Why did I think it was Electric Light Orchestra? Yeah, how would that have even worked? Come on, brain.
Come on, man.
I saw the word electric and I got excited, okay, folks? But anyway, that main theme, which we'll get into, which is super important to the film, it's also just a banger. It's just a fucking bop. Yeah, I guess we'll end non-spoilery thoughts here. I'd highly recommend going into this and not seeing anything about it. Just let yourself kind of go like, oh fuck, this is what this is. Whoa, okay.
I did that and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it is a proven way of seeing this movie.
It's like, it is, prepare yourself for a bit of a slow build, but trust me, it pays off. Mostly. But trust me, it pays off, and eventually the film gets really kind of tense and exciting. Yeah. So, I guess, yeah, let's just spend the last, like... we're going to do a shorter episode today, because we didn't want to force ourselves to talk for ages about this, because I don't know how much we're going to have to say about it, because, as Joe says, it's very straightforward. So, yeah, so spoilers. Please watch the film. It's on Amazon Prime. Please watch it. Yes, so... Yeah, where do we start with the thing? So, I guess we'll just quickly...
Staring competition?
Yep, fuck it. Alright, let's talk about this. Because this is the one thing that I completely agree with you on, that I don't think it was executed properly. And I see a lot of people just... Nobody talks about it. All these videos I've seen, everyone just passes it off as just Ryan Gosling's a methodical guy, and he, you know... he never, you know, he just thinks about things through and stuff. And I'm like, that still doesn't make sense. So, one of the things that all these, like, analyzation videos talk about is how amazing the opening scene is, which is great.
Yeah.
So, the opening scene of this film, if you haven't seen it for some reason, but hey, stick around if you just want to know everything. The opening scene is like Ryan Gosling inside of this hotel room. He's talking to some people on the phone, arranging for himself to be like the getaway driver for some heist that's going on. and he's like being really methodical. Like, I'm giving you a 5-minute window. Anything happens a minute before or a minute after that, I'm not.
You don't have my service.
Yeah, you don't have my service, but you've got me for those 5 minutes. And he specifically, I don't know if you notice, he makes point. He says, "I won't hold any of your guns." He always says, "I'm not handling guns. I'm your driver. That's it." And then you see like a little sketch of like the route that he's already planned out. Like he's already planned out everything. And there's a basketball game on the TV, which is super important. Because at first you're like, oh, I guess he just is interested in the basketball, but no.
He's such a pro that he's just tuning into the sports.
But no, it's clever. Clever things are about to happen. So they do the thing. There's kind of like, it's this really weird thing of like an exciting car chase, but it's realistic. So it's not over the top. Cars are flipping and all this shit. Like he's like we never. I don't know if you noticed, we never leave the inside of the car. Like with the camera is in the car and it stays in the car. We stay at the driver's perspective. So like he wanted to. I remember that I was reading something where Refn wanted to like not like Hollywoodize and romanticize the action, like kind of keep it realistic and in the car. And it's realistic, and there is like some tension in just hearing like when the police do kind of find out which car they're in, like him like speeding up, but he's staying methodical and focused, and like the people in the back are kind of freaking out, like, what the fuck? But he gets away by timing exactly where his route's going to take him to when the basketball game ends and all the screaming fans come out of the arena, so they just blend right in.
No, that is pretty smart. Like,
it's really smart. Like,
I wish I was
really
there.
cool. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, the main thing that everyone talks about with this opening scene is that the thing that we're shown. It's like everyone is jizzing themselves saying, this is like the perfect character introduction with very few words. You are showing how methodical this guy is, like how smart he is, and how much he thinks things through. Which I guess people use as the reason that me and Joe noticed when he starts talking to the family that he gets involved with. Like, what's the woman's name? Is it Irene? I think it's Irene.
An old person name.
Yeah, but she's young and kind of fit.
Irene, yeah.
What's the son's name again? I forget the son. Miguel or something? I'm thinking Poco Loco. What's that film called? The Pixar film.
Coco.
Shit, what's it? Coco, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Child.
So she's married to Oscar Isaac, who's in prison for something we never really find out about. And Driver, because we never get Ryan Gosling's name. I don't know if you noticed, so everyone calls him Driver. Yeah, cool. So Driver like kind of gets in good with his family and is like helping them out, and he's clearly falling in love with the Irene, and he's taking care of the kid, and like he's being a good dude. He's having and like I'm getting into too many things, but before I carry on with that stuff. But anyway, so me and Joe noticed pretty early on.
Pretty much from the start, like when they first had their had any kind of interaction, all they would do is stare at each other and not talk. And it was kind of like, it wasn't even like a, oh, hey, we understand each other to me. Like, it was a bit, but it was kind of just,
but it was too long. Each silence was too long.
And it's like, it's just staring at each other enough for you to like,
and kind of smiling a little bit. But it's weird that she doesn't. Yeah, it's weird that she doesn't think it's weird. Because for him, it would probably be a case of, because a big thing about this film is how, because the main theme of the film is this song that has the two main lines, like a real human being and a real hero. So the idea is that Ryan Gosling, so Driver, like has never had like a proper life, and he wants to, as soon as he meets his family, he wants to be a real human being. He wants to be a real hero because he's always been like this kind of bad guy, just kind of drifting, like doing jobs for like Bryan Cranston, his boss, who works at a garage, is also like a front for some gangsters. And he just wants, and he meets these people, and he thinks he finally might have a chance to be like a real human being, and kind of have a life that is good, like a hero. And I really like, there's this shot that Like, there's a shot where after he meets them, he sees like Irene and her kid like walking in the park from like a distance inside of like behind a window and like kind of staring down at them really far away. And it's just such a nice and beautiful looking shot that without any words just kind of establishes, you know, he wants to be with them. Like, that's all you need. Like, I think that's really cool. Like, he's like looking in from the outside and he just wants to be. Yeah.
We're never really sure of his past either.
Yeah.
We can,
and we don't really need to be honest.
He's come here after doing some other wrong, and he's trying to start afresh.
Yeah.
Actually, though, he's been there for a while, though, hasn't he? So
he says he's been in Los Angeles for a while.
Yeah. Well,
but I feel like I get the idea that, like, because randomly one day he showed up on Bryan Cranston's doorstep and just wanted to like work, and he already knew how to work with cars and stuff. So clearly he had a weird upbringing where
and he took half pay or whatever.
Yeah, and Bryan Cranston's like, "Lol, I'm still what's
I'm
he say?
exploiting this man.
I'm still exploiting him." And then he comes over like, "You'll drive her home, won't you?" And he's kind of like, "I've got a crush on her," but he doesn't say it. He stares it. But yeah, so the staring, it legitimately went on for so long. And it was so weird that me and Joe actually kind of theorized that maybe he has autism.
Well, yeah, I thought that's what maybe they were going for, because
I haven't heard anyone talk about it, but to be honest, if he did, it would kind of explain a lot of the things that happen in the film, and also would explain his motivations a bit. I honestly think it might be a hot take. Like, I haven't heard anyone even suggest this.
Or
but I genuinely think
like,
it's
maybe
a possibility.
I don't know. There's definitely some like mentally.
Well, for sure, yeah. And like, obviously, you don't have to label it, but like some kind of like mental like. And I guess you could just say that it's this backstory we don't get to hear about. Like, we can shape it. Maybe, to be honest, maybe that's kind of the beauty of it. Maybe because you know the idea that like less is more. Like, it's why the Joker to me is so interesting, and why the Joker movie didn't work for me, is that the lack of backstory means your imagination fills the gaps, and nothing can ever be as good as your own imagination, and leaving everyone their own chance to come up with something. I actually think that's a smart way to go, and kind of makes it definitely made me more invested in the character without having to do a lot. So to be honest, maybe that is actually cool, but they still stare for too long. It's weird.
He's definitely got to be like a psychopath, maybe.
Oh, for
something
sure,
like that.
yeah.
But like he's kind of a good person. But like when he snaps, like he just goes off the rails.
So this is one of the things that kind of bothered me about the film. We're just going to jump all over the place. At the very end, in fact, real quick, just for people who don't really know about. Who are just kind of listening and don't really know anything about the film, I'll just quickly run down what happens, just so you're on the same page as, and we can jump around. So, Driver works for Bryan Cranston, who's mob boss kind of people that check in on him are Ron Perlman and another dude who has no eyebrows, and apparently he did that to make him look as emotionless as possible, and it worked. But anyway, they're taking out a big bet on this driver kid to be like a race car driver. He's kind of fallen in love with this Irene, but then her husband, Oscar Isaac, gets let out of jail. But these mob guys are like forcing him to do one last job to pay off some debt. So Driver agrees to help the family by helping him, being the driver for him to do this job. But it was a setup where they stole $1 million from this random pawn shop, but it was actually like an agreement that was going to be like frame it as a robbery, but we're actually just embezzling like our own money. And so they double cross Driver and they kill Oscar Isaac, and then he's kind of forced into this world where he's like, what the fuck is this money then, what's going on? And a bunch of guys come for him and he just snaps. He's like slapping a woman, he's like shooting these like gang guys. There's a point where this woman gets shot in the head with a shotgun, and her head on camera fucking explodes. The violence in this is so... Oh my god.
Like, yeah, that was the first moment of like complete like gore and like,
yeah, it's like halfway through the film, and like things then take like a massive turn because we kind of realize There's this nice little scene where Ryan Gosling's sitting with Irene's kid, and they're watching the show, and he says to the kid, he said, "Is that a bad guy?" And the kid goes, "Yeah," and he's like, "How can you tell?" He's like, "Well, he's a shark." And Ryan Gosling's like, "Are there no good sharks?" And the kid's like, "No, there's no good sharks." So it's kind of a little message about like Ryan Gosling is kind of like a shark, and even though he sees himself as he tries to see himself as a good guy, deep down you can't change shark. That. And that's kind of what the film's about. Like, he's got this jacket with a scorpion on his back, and he tells a story, and he like brings up the story of the scorpion and the frog, which if you don't know, Scorpion wants a frog to take him across a river, and he's like, "Bro, you gonna sting me?" And he's like, "Nah, I won't do that because then it'll kill us both." But then halfway across he stings him anyway, and the frog's like, "Why would you do that?" And he's like, "It's in my nature, I can't help it," and they both die. So that's kind of the whole idea, that Driver wants to be a better person, but it's just not in his nature anymore. And after this whole job goes wrong, they send guys to like after him and Irene, and he finds out that it's actually the mob's money of the guys who own Bryan Cranston's like garage and like Ron Perlman. So he's fucked them over, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And then there's this amazing scene in a lift where somebody sends, where Ron Perlman sends a guy to kill Driver, and he gets one last moment with Irene before she sees him for who he really is. So he like kisses her, and he's like blah blah blah. But then he beats the shit out of this guy, and like stomps his fucking head in. Like we see it like squash like a watermelon. Yeah. And she gets put on the other side of the lifts as the doors close, and you realize they're never gonna be together because he's a fucking psycho. So anyway, shenanigans go.
He did actually offer to give the money back.
He did, yeah. He
just wanted to be absolved of it.
Yeah, he goes over to this guy, the main guy who fucked him over, and there's this amazing scene where he's gonna like hammer a bullet into his head, and it's intense, it's crazy. And he calls Nino, that's his name, Nino, Ron Perlman, and he's like, "Look, I just want to give you the money back and leave this be." But Ron Perlman's got this whole thing with his family where they'll be like, "Well, why are some guys dead?" And like, "You're the fuck up of the family," or whatever. So he wants to just kill Driver, like completely cut this loose end off. So Driver tries to be honourable, but they send a guy. So of course now Irene's seen for who he really is. So he's fucked. So like eventually he finds Ron Perlman and kills him. And then there's only this other eyebrowless gangster left. And he's like, "We're the only two left in this." And he's like, "If you give me the money, I'll let the girl go forever, but you'll have to keep looking over your shoulder." And Driver kind of looks at him like, "I fucking know what you're..." Yeah, or okay. But then they get out to the car, the guy stabs him, but Ryan Gosling's like, "Yeah, I knew you were going to do that," and then stabs him. And then he kind of drives off into the sunset. He finally gets to be a real hero as the song plays, but he doesn't get the girl, which was the bit that I was like, that bit annoys me because as much as it's like, yeah, the doors closed between them, it's a clear indication of, you know, she's seen for who he really is. They can't, like, you know, the doors closed. They can't ever go back. But at the end of the film, right as he's driving off, she goes to knock. She like knocks on his door, but he doesn't answer. And maybe that's supposed to say like, well, the door's closed, but she would be willing to forgive him, but he just knows what's best, so drives off. Maybe that's what it means. But it did leave me kind of the question.
She wants to see him, obviously. So.
Right. I get so she still wants to be with him, but he is trying to be responsible and like is just driving off into the distance. Because some people,
or maybe he just knows he's gonna die anyway. So like, there's no like, I don't know.
Well, the idea is that some people think that at the end, with him sitting in the car and kind of staring out into the sunset for ages and then closing his eyes and opening them again and driving off, some people think that's him dying and then we see him driving off into heaven. But if you actually pay attention, like the blood's still on his hands and like he's still bleeding as he's driving off, so he's not dead. That's actually him driving somewhere. So I don't know. And they're doing a sequel book, so I guess he's alive. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the film. It's really great, and
you can interpret it.
There's a lot of ways to interpret it. I don't think anyone's wrong in saying that maybe he is dead at the end and driving off, because maybe that does make sense. But
I don't mind it for this film for some reason. Like
yeah. But yeah, I really think like there's some really it's weird because it's simple, and the artistic stuff about it is also simple, but it's still kind of cool. But I do feel like some people get like jizzing in their pants saying it's like a masterpiece because of like because of like, you know, like there's like he says, are there any good sharks? No, that's me. And it's like, yeah, that's in air quotes clever, but it's not any more simple than what we're being told and shown anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
like, I don't think it's that smart. Like, it's smarter than most films, but it's not like top tier level, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I just.
So I
just don't get the people like going Uber like.
To me, this film doesn't seem like it. Yeah, to me,
not...
this film doesn't seem like it really needs that. Like a film like Enemy definitely needs that, because that's what the film is, prompting questions about what it's about. But I don't think Drive is prompting questions about what it's about. I think it's just telling you openly. All you have to do is kind of like, if you just listen to the song and watch the film, like, you know, a real human being, a real hero. He clearly wants to be, you know, part of the world properly, and he wants to be a good guy. Which is one of the things I thought was interesting, because a question I didn't even think about was, you know, when he like goes down to kill Ron Perlman, and he puts on the stunt mask, like where you know, like it's like it's like a whole face covering where you just like bold and kind of, you know, to make it like neutral first, because he's a stuntman as well. Like that's his day job, that he's like a stuntman on films for like driving. And yeah, I didn't even think. I was like, wait, yeah, why does he wear that mask? Like, you know, to take out Ron Perlman. And the idea is that it's this whole idea of being a hero. Like, heroes don a costume, and in his head, he's kind of trying to be like. Some people think like
disassociate himself, his actual self, with what he's doing, as in killing and murdering.
But also, I think it's a part of like he's trying to be, in air quotes, a hero, because like he's been on film sets all his life. So he's probably seen just so many times where, well, the person dons the costume and they do the good thing. So he thinks maybe what he's doing, maybe he's trying to justify it to himself by donning a costume or whatever. Because some people are just like, oh, it's just to disguise himself. I'm like, they already know what he looks like and who he is. That doesn't make sense. So there is like a deeper meaning to it, which I like. That's one of the things I do kind of think, oh, okay, analyze that, because it's not obvious, but it is kind of cool. Which also leads to that amazing shot we were talking about, where like he crashes Nino's car and like throws it over like this small like cliff edge onto a beach, and he stands on top of the cliff edge, like looking down on him while he's like the car wreckage is burning, and like Ron Perlman's bleeding in the sand. It's like this really epic shot that does look like a wallpaper. Yes.
Yeah. As you said, Daniel.
Oh, well, you said it, actually.
You said it there. You said it there.
Sorry, I feel like I mean, I knew I was going to speak the most now anyway, because I'm the one who like went out and watched the videos. But yeah, what do you think about all that then?
What? Ask me questions.
Okay, so what at the end of the day, with this film, do you think it's A-class, top tier, like, oh, everyone should see this at some point?
No.
Yeah, agreed.
But like, I would still, like, anyone who asked about it, I would say, yeah, watch it.
Yeah, like, I'd recommend it,
but I'm not going to go out of my way.
Yes, that's perfect. I wouldn't go out of my way to, but I would recommend, if I knew somebody would like this kind of film, like, to me, it's like, I wouldn't
scream it from the rooftops.
Yeah, to me, it's like artistic Baby Driver, but I'd still rather watch Baby Driver because it's just an easier watch.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, even then, like, it's a pretty concise, simple, easy to follow story with like peaks of like insane violence.
Oh, it's so good.
An epic music score. Like good cinematography that looks cool and nice. There's cars.
Cool and nice.
There's cars. He drives them and goes fast. Like,
there is a bit of car fetishism going on.
Bruh,
I like it.
Like, I don't know,
yeah, like it's very.
What more? Like, what more could you?
No,
really
I'm completely on your side. Like, it's very much like it's actually a lot simpler than people made it out to me to be. Like, all the uni like guys that were talking to me about it were like talking really like, you know, saying like, oh, your mind will be blown and stuff. And don't get me wrong, there are the violence, especially like the way it naturally kind of builds up to this really violent side of Ryan Gosling's character. Yeah. It's like really impressively done in like Like, it's justified in a way, but it's still horrifying, you know what I mean? Like, there's a scene where, like, we're talking about him hammering the bullet into this guy's head. He doesn't actually do it, but he's threatening it. And he's, like, shaking and kind of sweating. Because, again, it's like, I noticed it at the time. I said to you, that's so cool because it's clearly like he doesn't want to be this person, but he has the capability of being that person. You know what I mean? Which I thought was a nice little touch. But, like, it's a room filled with boobs. There's boobs all around and fit girls. And my attention is solely on Ryan Gosling because of that amazing performance. That's something we haven't even spoken about. Ryan Gosling's fantastic in this.
Yeah, man.
He's staring, but also he's really good.
He's good at staring and shaking and sweating.
Yes. But I mean, you got to admit, like, his face, like, he can tell like a story with his face. As weird as that sounds, like obviously there's him staring at like during mid conversation is weird, but you know, just the moments where you can just read his face and you can just tell everything he's thinking. Like, that's hard to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm not an actor.
Neither am I.
I can't.
I went to uni for drama for a week and then I quit because I hated it.
Did you do much acting in that period?
Not really. We did this like this is the day I knew I wanted to quit. We were workshopping improvised scenes. I love improvising because I'm like a comedy writer, so like that shit's a nice challenge for me. Like, let's think on the spot, let's be funny. And this small Spanish girl that was paired up with me and like some other guy was like, oh yeah, what if we did a scene where I'm Gollum from Lord of the Rings? And I said, what? And they're like getting like really like fantasy, like, yeah, let's do this. And I was just like, I can't do this. I was like, this is uni for drama. I'll be Gollum. I was like, fuck. And I just got out of there. If you want to be, here's my words.
What would have been better?
Well, like
you could.
Well, no, I think there was some prompt.
What was your problem with it?
No, there was like a prompt for the scene that was all like, make it about like, you know, make it. It was like, hey, there's like a disagreement in a hotel lobby. Now do you see why it's fucked? Gollum's in a hotel lobby. Okay, but also that's cringy anyway.
Improvise, Daniel. Improvise.
Who's trying to be Gollum in any? Why? But like. Yeah, no. Here's my advice for anyone who wants to be an actor out there. Don't go to uni for acting. Go to like an acting school or like after like, you know, like societies and shit, because they'll actually give you scripts and you'll do shit. Go to drama for it. They'll be like blah 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 blah.
Drama kids, eh?
Drama's fucking stupid. I'm sorry, but for most people with acting, you're either good at it and you can get better, or you're shit and you can get meh. And if you're meh, you're probably not going to go anywhere. Just be realistic about it, okay? Fuck.
Hey, just tell that to insert a meh actor's name here.
Jai Courtney.
The woman from the woman from Thor, the scientists that.
Oh, who's in WandaVision now?
Yeah.
Oh. Every week we watch WandaVision, Brad just starts getting so mad. What's her name? I don't even know.
I don't know, man.
She's from Two Broke Girls, and I'm so American. Every time she speaks, Brad I can't even hear what's going on in the episode because Brad's like, I fucking hate you. Just die in the show. Die. And I'm like, Brad, I want to know what's happening. By the way, if you're not watching WandaVision, fucking watch it. It's great. Maybe we'll talk about it when it's done. Actually, we probably will. It's great. Watch it, please. It hurts me that people are. No, I know everyone's watching it. Everyone's watching it. But yeah, I guess we'll wind down now. And yeah, that was Drive. It's a
wind down.
It's a really. I'm trying to find the right word to describe it. It's really, really good. It's not perfect, but it's really, really good.
Good is said a lot on this
podcast.
This podcast.
It's because we watch a lot of good
show
things.
Then.
Oh,
this show.
Is it a show?
We put on a show, don't we?
Yeah, but imagine if we had like a boss and we had to get ratings, and like people had to watch. Uh-oh.
That show.
Uh-oh.
This show.
I'm worried like we'll get to like the 100th episode and we'll have like, and maybe hopefully by then we'll have a few more listeners, but like just people look back on these ones and they're like, some of these episodes only had like 5 or 7 views, and I'm like, I'm like, oh, such. We appreciate the ones people do watch.
The real ones.
Shove Lego bricks up my ass.
Bash my cock with a rock, I must.
Chicken tendies.
What's that video called? ASMR Yoda.
ASMR cock and ball torture Yoda.
Yeah. Search that up. It's like 10, 15 seconds long. It's fucking funny.
Oh,
Actually, you know what? I'll put in the sound for the end of the show. I'll put in the audio from it. You can all enjoy it.
Oh no.
So yeah, thanks very much for listening / watching, people. This was a slightly shorter one. Normally they go an hour, but guess what? Fuck you. We do what we want to do. Yeah. That's right. So yeah, thanks. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave, you know, just leave now. We're done. Just leave, wait, no, stick around to listen to the Yoda thing, but then you can leave. Joe, you got anything nice that you'll do for people if they like the video?
Bake you a cookie, I will.
And if you dislike it, I'll put Legos up your ass until you bleed. Yoda's clearly into that.
Yoda like you. Because that's what Yoda
that's what
like
he says, yeah. When he was fighting the Emperor, he said, Yoda don't like you.
Yoda.
When he was like breaking his fingernails trying to grab onto that thing, he was like, Yoda ouchie.
Oh, Yoda slippy. Yoda falling.
And you wonder why we're both single and alone forever. Goodbye, everybody.
I'm just really sad now.
Crush my cock with a rock, I must. Maximum pain I must endure. Okay, here we go.
I'm gonna cut that bit.